In this video, I'll be showing you an easy way to collect more and better testimonials like this, or even like this in your agency on autopilot. Proof is everything, and adding a bit of proof to your content, your VSLs, your nurture sequences, maybe even your follow-up sequences is going to make it better. You're going to go ahead and actually upgrade it. I mean, think about the last time you actually went to eat out or the restaurant with friends or your girlfriend. Did you not check the reviews before you actually went to this unknown place? Or same exact thing. Let's say the last time you bought something online in a platform like Amazon. Did you not check out the reviews first? I think we can all agree on the importance of reviews, testimonials, just proof in general in the marketplace. They increase the trust that a buyer actually has for your particular services or product. However, from work with multiple agencies from all over the world, I can tell you for free, this is something that 90% of agencies completely overlook. Now, just for context, guys, my name is Leo. I'm the CEO and founder of Fluxomate, our company over there. We're an operational agency that helps multiple seven-figure agencies from all over the world set up scale-proof systems. In this video, I'll show you some of the same tactics that we use in our clients and also in my agency to collect better and more reviews from our clients. Right off the bat, there's 3 things you can do to immediately improve your testimonials. The first thing you do is get more of them. More is better, especially in the review space. So the more reviews you have and the more testimonials you have, the more trust people are going to have in your particular services. The second thing you do is you can get more frequent reviews. Now I'm going to touch a bit more on this later, but you want reviews that are relatively frequent. Let's say within the past 3 months. These are going to be much more powerful and show relevancy in the market. And the third thing you can do is get more personal reviews. So rather than a random note online, you can get interviews with your clients in person, online, wherever it may be. So let's put all of this together and let's talk about the 2 extremes when it comes to reviews. I got this from Alex Mozy. If you don't know who he is, he's a massive guy in this entrepreneurial space. He founded a company called Gym Launch a couple years ago. He exited for over $100 million. And now he runs his own portfolio company, advising different companies on how to actually scale to these crazy numbers. And what he says is that there's 2 different extremes to proof. On one end of the extreme, you have anonymous review from 5 years ago that just gives a low recommendation. And on a complete other end of the spectrum, you have a review that was shot 3 days ago, is one-to-one, very personal, and it's a person who is in your identical position, who had the problem solved by the specific company. As you can see, 2 very, very opposite ends of the spectrum, and quite obviously, you want to be on this extreme right here. You want a review that is personal, relevant to the prospect, and frequent. Or I guess the best way to describe it is also as more recent. Now, before we talk about implementing a new and improved testimonial process, let's talk about what you're most likely doing in your agency to collect reviews. And once again, guys, this is from my personal experience working with over 200 different agencies. So what agencies usually do is one of 2 things. Either when a client reaches out to them to end the agreement in some sort of exit call and onboarding call, they collect a review or ask them to leave a review of the experience. But by this point, the client is already done with you guys. I mean, there's obviously a reason why they're leaving. So this is not ideal. Or secondly, they collect one quick testimonial, whether it's a written review or hopefully a video review if you're kind of on the upper echelon, and they just leave it as that. Let's say even a client is with them for 3, 4, 5 years. If you're doing a really, really good job, then all you have is that one review, which is not good. Because if you're doing either one of those, or even maybe both, you're going to get less reviews, less frequent reviews or less recent reviews, and less powerful reviews. And obviously you don't want any of these, because remember, you want a lot of reviews. You want reviews that are frequent, so recent basically, and you want very personal, powerful reviews of clients that have worked with you directly. You can ask them specific questions and get them to share their experience with you rather than just leaving a quick notice in your Google profile, for example. Now, the key to this whole testimonial process is 3 different things. You need to collect more reviews, you need to collect different types of reviews, and most importantly, you need to collect them at the right time. This is the most important thing. In this case, timing is literally everything, guys, because you need to think about this. When will your clients be your biggest supporters? Will they be your biggest supporters when they already decide they're going to leave and you're doing an exit interview? Or will they be the biggest supporters when you get them that first win? Will they be the biggest supporters when you make them the first dollar, for example? Will they be your biggest supporter when you help them achieve that goal that you promised at the very start of the sales process? This is the same exact thing as if you were an athlete, guys. Let's say you were a UFC champion. For those of you who don't know what that is, just a fighting championship, right? Let's say you just won your championship belt. When do you think your supporters are going to be more likely to ask a picture from you? When you actually won that belt, or 3 years later when you get knocked out by the new guy on the scene and you lose that belt? This is the same exact process you want to apply to collecting reviews in your agency. It sounds a bit far-fetched, but it makes a lot of sense, guys. Throughout our client's journey, from start to finish, there will be these different points where they will get wins. And if there isn't, you should really reconsider your fulfillment process. For example, let's say I run a marketing agency, and one of the wins is maybe when they launch the ads. or another win could possibly be when I get my first lead. And then lastly, a win could be when I actually, I don't know, get 10 leads a month, which is the initial end goal or the reason I started working with a company in the first place. But as you can see, throughout the customer journey or the client journey in this case, from start to finish, there's different points that we need to identify as wins. And these are the points where you want to ask your clients for testimonials, because these are the points where they are going to be your biggest supporters, guys. You've just got them a massive win. So you want to take advantage of those moments. You definitely don't want to wait until the very end of a relationship when they already decided they want to leave you and then ask them for a review then, because I mean, at that point, think about it. There's a reason why they're leaving you. You don't even want their review in the first place, unless you're just doing it for internal feedback reasons. But in this case, we're talking about reviews that you can use for your marketing, follow-up, sales processes. Remember what I said, adding proof to anything will make it better. Now, the thing that's probably running through your head is how can you actually apply this to your specific agency, process, whatever it may be. So I'm going to show you. Let's go over an example of a client journey that we're going to map out as an example. And then throughout that client journey, we'll identify the wins, which are basically different points we want to ask clients for reviews. So in this case, we're going to be modeling a marketing agency. Just because most of you guys watching this at home actually own marketing agencies. I mean, at least if YouTube is doing a good job. Now, at this point, I'm going to assume that the start of this whole process is onboarding. So at this point, we already closed them. It's just anything that happens past then. And the very last step of this process is going to be, let's say in this case, is a marketing agency and we're promising them to sell out their stock. So I'm going to put that there. That is the end goal. So now we can talk about what happens between the onboarding to the actual sell out the stock. So the first thing, you're probably going to welcome the client. You're going to get them to record different ads. You're going to edit the ads, edit campaigns, do some target audience probably, and then actually launch those ads. And this maybe can be the end of your onboarding process. So we'll put launch ads. Right here, you can see I made it bigger for a reason. This is your first win when you first launch the ads. Now, the quicker you do it, the better this is. However, this is still a win. So we're going to go ahead and identify that. Then once you're going to actually launch the ads, then this is when the client or the fulfillment journey basically starts. And apologies for my horrible diagram, guys. Usually I use Figma, but in this case, I wanted to draw it out live with you guys just so you can kind of hear my thought process behind doing this. This is not meant to look pretty. But let's say you launch the ads. Now they start spending their money. They wait a couple days, and then after a while, they get their first sale. Massive moment. As you can see, this is a second win when they get their first sale through ads. They've started to make a ROI. Then down the line, it keeps on going. They keep spending money on ads. They keep making sales. Let's say another pivotal moment can be when they get an ROI. That's another win. And then lastly, let's say it goes all the way to the end and you're actually selling out your stock. Now, once again, excuse the kind of random diagram. This is not meant to look pretty, but once again, the selling out stock is another win. So even throughout this very, very simple fulfillment process where all basically doing is onboarding the client, launching the ads, and get to them one sale, getting them an ROI, and actually selling out of stock, we've identified 4 different points where we can actually collect different testimonials as we've got them a win. Now, one thing that's important about the onboarding process, and I've got, plenty of videos going over onboarding in general, but you want to make sure you get them that first win, some sort of tangible win as soon as possible. So let's say your goal could be to launch these ads within the first 7 days, and that will be a great opportunity to get some sort of mini testimonial from clients. I'm going to show you guys how to automate this later in a second as well, but your action item right now is to pause this video for a second and map out your client journey. It can literally be as rough as this sketch right here. I mean, literally nothing complicated, guys. But the main thing you want to do is get a clear understanding of what are these different points where we're getting wins for client. They don't have to be massive things. Like, for example, I mean, getting one sale doesn't really mean much for an e-commerce company, but it's still a mini internal win that they kind of achieve. And it's kind of when, if you think about it, they kind of start seeing progress towards that goal of selling out the stock in this case, or wherever the goal it may be for your clients. Let's say it's getting them 10 leads a month, wherever it is. Identify these different points in your fulfillment journey when you're getting these people these wins, because these are the points where you actually need to act and actually collect those testimonials. Now, if you don't have any of these processes in your sales journey, first things first, I guarantee you do. But let's say on the off chance, the only kind of real benefit they get is at the very end of your service, you can still highlight that. And you can basically mimic these points throughout the fulfillment journey to actually communicate these wins to the client. So for example, a lot of people won't actually be tracking their first sale, but it can be your job that as soon as they get a sale, have some sort of trigger that sends them a message saying, hey, congratulations on getting your first sale. Super, super excited for you. Here's a message. Now, once again, I'm going to be talking about later on the automation side of things, but the first thing we need to do right now is map out your client journey and identify all the different points where you get some sort of win for your clients, whether it's something small, something big. Map it out, because these are the points I want you to jump on as soon as it happens, because these are the points where your clients are going to be your biggest supporters, and you want to capture that energy into a video or a view of some sort so you can share it with potential customers in the future. All right, let's go back to the whiteboard. Apologies for that horrible drawing. Once again, I wanted to communicate my thoughts as I went through it, and I hope that was valuable for you guys. Let me know in the comments your feedback. Now, one important thing I want to tell you, and this is a secret if you want to call it that, but there are different types of testimonials. So guess what that means, guys? you don't just have to collect one testimonial from a client. You can collect one video testimonial, which could be the more sort of an interview style. You can collect one short form video testimonial, which is kind of like a testimonial where you ask your clients to record a quick 1 minute, 2 minute video just sharing their experience with the company, as giving you a shout out basically, and obviously written testimonials. And let me show you some examples of each one of these. So within my website, if you go over to results, you can see right here, you can click any of these, and these are interview testimonials. These are the longer ones. I mean, these are both about 15 minutes long for this one, another 16 minutes here. These are basically just video interviews that I actually have with clients, and these are more so the video testimonials, right? But within that, I also have client love, and these are more so the written testimonials. And in terms of the short form, someone that does this really, really well is Rabbi Abiwala from Scaling with Systems. I hope I didn't butcher his name completely. As you can see, he actually has a whole YouTube channel for the testimonials, and if you open any single one of these, you can see the short 1 minute videos, and in those 1 minute videos, the clients just basically give Scaling with System, which is a company, a quick shout out. And for example,
Hey
I'll give you
guys,
guys
Kemet
players
here.
quickly.
I'm just shooting this testimonial to shout out my
This is
man
obviously his
Robbie.
client.
He provided so much fucking value in his coaching call this morning. Absolutely worth every single penny. We're talking four-figure number here, but dude, absolutely worth it. I appreciate all the value that you.
And once again, I wanted you guys to pick up on something, right? This particular video, he just mentioned he dropped so much value on the coaching call this morning. It's not like these guys, which once again, Scaling System, they're a massive company in the space, but it's not like they have waited until this particular gentleman right here has actually left their program. They've most likely probably asked him to leave a review after they probably noticed he had a really good experience on that morning coaching call. And this is exactly why you get reviews like this, where your customers are willing to record these 1 minute videos, even out while they're out on a jog, to promote your company, because you just given them some sort of goodwill and they want to pay you back for that in any way they can. And this is the same as that process I'm talking about earlier, guys. Identify those wins. And if you notice a client is your biggest supporter in one particular interval, jump on that opportunity and actually collect their testimonials so you can actually share their experience with other people from the outside looking to work with your company, guys. And guys, just to be very, very clear, you can also get more testimonials from clients. So for example, you don't have to just limit yourself to one video testimonial, one short video, and 5 written testimonials. For example, in 1 year, if you consider giving these different points of value, you can ask your clients for a lot more testimonials. So for example, let's say 2 videos, 3 short videos, 5 written testimonials. This is probably a big drag that wouldn't go that far. I mean, depending on how much value you actually give into your clients. I also like to mix it in with a different discount. So for example, let's down the line, I've recorded probably the second video and I want to record one more. I'll probably offer them some sort of incentive, like let's say a discount on their services, some gift cards, some sort of gift, something like that, just to make it worth it for them. In this case, when it comes to proof, the more you have, the better. So don't be scared to ask your clients for these different videos and resources, because once again, if you are doing a good job, they're not going to mind doing this. They're going to be your biggest supporters. The only thing that you do have to keep in mind in a specific scenario is that you don't want to overwhelm your clients. Don't be asking them for testimonials every other day. Obviously, space it out. And once again, guys, timing is everything. So if you find that perfect opportunity where you notice your clients is really, really hyped about you, or really, really happy with any sort of kind of service delivery that you did, ask them about it. I'll give you an example. For us, we obviously do done for you backend services or backend implementations, and a lot of different things is building different systems and then launching different systems within an agency. Recently, we launched this particular system which was completely custom made. I mean, if you know anything about APIs, it didn't even have an API. We had to create an own API for that specific agency, and then we went and launched it. And at that moment, I can tell my clients loved me to death. It was a completely custom system. No one else could do this, and we actually managed to create it for them. And guess what I did? At the end of the call, I just asked them very nicely to just leave me a written review. Even though I've got more reviews for them, I asked them to collect another one, which makes sense. They were mega supporters, so I wanted to act on that moment and get an updated review from them. And this is the exact same thing I want you to guys to apply to your agencies. Whenever you deliver something that's going to blow the client's mind away, or let's say you're running ads for someone and you have a really good month, capture that moment, because once again, they're going to be your biggest supporters there. I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but when your clients are your biggest supporters, you want to act on an opportunity and get them to share their experience. You don't want to wait until the very end of the relationship, guys. And once again, I've seen so many different agencies do this. They wait until the client actually leaves and then collect a quick 5-minute video going over the experience. But once again, they can't even post those videos because at that point, the client has already left. So use these opportunities to collect more and better reviews from your clients. All right, guys, so we've mapped out the client journey. We've identified all the different wins. Now let's talk about how we can actually systemize it. This is a very two-step process. And honestly, what I'm going to show you guys in this video is very, very basic stuff. But if you implement this, you'll be able to streamline your testimonial process. And once again, this is the exact same systems that we use both in our agency and the different agencies that we work with through our program. So the first thing we need to do is set up some sort of testimonial storage. Now, this is going to be a win-win for everyone, guys, and it can look something like this. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. I mean, this example I'm going to show you right here is literally on a Google Sheet. Anyone can do this, guys. This is nothing complicated whatsoever. All we basically have it is a list of clients, when they actually started, and then as you can see, we're basically tracking different testimonials we're getting from them. Let me zoom in for you guys so you can see this a bit better. I'm tracking the number of video testimonials I collected from this client, if they collected a UGC testimonial, if I collected a written testimonial. And this gives me a good overview of, first things first, which clients I need to collect reviews from, and secondly, it gives me an even better overview in terms of sales and marketing if I need to find specific reviews using these tags right here. So as you can see, for each review or client, we're adding specific tags, and this might be different pain points, it might be different results, it might be just maybe different niches, right? Something I'll be able to identify or separate the different reviews into their own individual pockets. And let's say I've got a new customer, and this is from a sales perspective that is heavily focused on cold email. All I have to do within my testimonial database is enter cold email, and then from that I can see that this particular client, which is Eco Growth, is from cold email, and they've got a massive ROI, it seems like. So if I open up any single one of these testimonials, I can get a better idea and actually share this with relevant prospects so they can find someone who's had a similar situation to them. Now, testimonial databases or storages like the one I just showed you are extremely valuable, so I highly recommend you set one up. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, guys. I mean, the example I show you was literally in a Google Sheet. It doesn't get easier than that. If you want a specific template, all you have to do is check out the first thing in the description, join my free community. It doesn't cost you anything, it's 100% free. Head over to the classroom once you're inside, and within YouTube resources, you'll see a file just like this, where you can just download that specific Google Sheet and go about your day. Now, this Google Sheet is also important because it's also what's going to allow us to automate different things, as I'm going to show you guys in a second. So let's say at this point, you've gone ahead and actually stolen my template or set up your own testimonial storage, and you can probably even do this within a project management system. I mean, ideally, if I'm being honest, we don't use Google Sheets to actually store these testimonials. We build internal platforms for our different clients of different solutions like NoLoco. And within that, we can integrate testimonial trackers linked to the client projects, but that's a video for another day. Now let's go over different automations you can have. And I'm going to be showing you 3 different examples of automations. And once again, guys, this is fairly basic stuff, but even implementing these small different automations is going to make a massive difference in the amount of testimonials you actually collect and how easy it is for your different CSMs to actually collect these testimonials from your clients. So the first automation that I would really recommend having is some sort of new client or onboarding automation. Now, once again, within our tracker sheet, we're basically tracking the different testimonials we're having from new client. So very simply, when you actually onboard a new client, you want to have an automation that automatically adds the client to the relevant table I showed you in a second ago. So fairly simple, guys. Let's just say whenever a new client onboarded, you want something that automatically adds it here or creates a reminder to actually add that client. I prefer to do these small things like this through automation because it makes my team's life a little easier, and it makes my life a lot easier because, for example, if in the future I'm looking for a specific client and I can't see if they've given any testimonials or not, it's because they haven't been added to the system. So what we have here is an example of an onboarding automation. I've got a whole video going over onboarding specifically, so I don't want to focus too much on this, but this is just an example of onboarding automation where we're inviting our clients to Slack automatically when they join. We're creating different Google Drive folders for them. We're creating a project within a project management system and different preset tasks, sending them a welcome email, so on and so forth. The only thing I care about here is I want you to add a step at the very end of your onboarding automation, if you have one, where you're actually just adding that specific sheet to the client. So for example, here, I'm going to go to Google Sheets. I'm going to go to add row. If you want to connect your account, all you have to do is press add and just sign in. It's fairly simple. When you're here, you want to search by path, search from all. And in this case, it's going to be my testimonial tracker. If I go ahead and press OK, it's going to load. And it's going to go ahead and find that sheet for me. And then the sheet I want to update is testimonial tracker sheet. And fairly simply, all I want to do is add the client and the project ID. So for the client name, I can get it from one of the initial triggers. And once again, guys, this is too much focus on automation. But if you don't know what platform this is, it's make.com. It's just a no-code automation platform. Nothing complicated. I will assume that most of you guys watching this already know what this is. But if not, check out this video right here going over 24 different make.com automations that you can actually use in your agency. Back to the video. In the conversation, I'm just going to add a client name, which in this case is the company name. And I'm also going to add that project ID, which we can get when we actually created that project right over here. And I'm actually also going to add the start date, which in this case is just now. Let me just format it so it looks a bit nicer. So if I go now, I'm going to put the British way, day, month. Yeah. Cool. So now if I go ahead and run this, just to show you guys, let's see, let me just go save this. And if I run this and I add some example things, so in this case, Marketing Inc., ID can be, I don't know, 15. Go ahead and search that. And now if you go back to our testimonial tracker, you can see it's gone ahead and automatically added that specific company with the relevant start date automatically. So now as a customer success manager, if down the line I can see that these guys haven't got a video testimonial yet, or a UGC testimonial, or even a written testimonial, I know that I need to do a bit of a job in actually collecting them. And hopefully down the line, you can begin taking all of these off and collecting more testimonials from your clients. So that's the first automation. Once again, nothing complicated. I mean, the main reason we're doing that is just to ensure we actually have the client there. Second automation is where you get more interesting, and this is when you start talking about streamlining the actual collection of testimonials. Now, I call this reminders, but there's probably a better word for it. All we're doing here is basically triggering this automation to check if we actually collected that testimonial from a client at different points throughout the fulfillment process, and if we haven't, messaging the CSM or even maybe directly the client to prompt them to actually leave a review. Now, this is a bit touchy, guys, and this is one of the things I always come back to. Just because you can automate something doesn't mean you necessarily should. It's a massive conversation I always have with clients, especially when it comes to client success. Once again, just because you can automate something doesn't mean you should. Nowadays, you can automate whatever you want, and that's genuinely, we've automated some crazy things, but it doesn't mean you should automate everything, guys. For example, the actual collection testimonials, I personally think it's something that is better off done in calls directly with the client. We can actually gauge the reaction, get a better understanding of their current feelings, and if it's the right time, you can actually execute and actually collect the testimonial. However, let's say in this specific example, this is why I kind of added that slash command, where I would personally rather you message the relevant CSM and get them to get in contact with the client to collect testimonial rather than send an email, but this is an option. Now, for the trigger, which is the most important part of any automation, but in particular is very, very important here, you basically want to go back to that client journey you had. And remember we said we want to identify those different wins. You basically want to find these different wins where you can get in contact with the relevant CSM. So for example, in that bots drawing that I did live with you guys, there was a couple wins where we could have triggered different points. So for example, let's say when a client got their first sale, we could have triggered an automation through some sort of reporting system that when we see the dollar amount go from 0 to X amount, we can go ahead and trigger automation to find the client, and then based on that, send a message to the CSM or even the client directly, encourage them to actually give a review. Or for example, let's say the client go ahead and manage to get their first sale or got ROI. We can track this in a specific reporting dashboard. When we see that number go above 1 in terms of the ROI, we can go ahead and send a message to the CSM, and then they can go ahead and prompt a review. This one's very, very specific to your particular client journey fulfillment process. So I'm struggling to think how I would actually demonstrate this for you guys. I guess the best way I can do is just give you like a raw example of what it can actually look like. So let's say within a client process, one of the things that you do for them is get them some sort of win. Now, in this case, I'm going to assume you're not a marketing agency because we already did that. Let's say you're a lead gen agency, more specifically a cold outreach lead gen agency. And one of the wins that you identified in your client process is the client booking their first meeting. This is something that's relatively easier to actually track. So all you would have to do is connect their Calendly or maybe even their go ahead level if you're doing that. And whenever that first appointment comes in, you'll trigger the automation, find the client using maybe the email of the host, and then send a message in Slack to CSM to actually alert them that the client has gotten their first appointment and they should get in contact with them to congratulate them and actually hopefully collect testimonial. So let's go ahead and actually build a very raw version of this, guys. As you can see within my phone process, in this case, the trigger is going to be a Calendly call. So if I go over to Calendly, I'm going to go watch events, and this is basically going to trigger whenever a call actually comes in. So I'm going to put invitee created. I'm not going to change the organization URI. I'm actually going to choose that one for this case. And this is fairly simple, guys. Obviously, in this case, I'm using Calendly. You can even use go high level. It doesn't really matter. And now whenever a call basically comes in, we can go ahead and actually trigger this. So to be honest, I think I had a call get booked earlier, so you might be able to test this. No, not yet. I'd have to actually book a call. But let's see a call comes in. We go to the Google Sheet. We search a specific client using their email. In this case, once again, if I go to the Google Sheet, I just have to find a particular item, which in this case was the testimonial tracker, I believe. Yeah, just like that. I choose the sheet name. And what I'm doing here is basically searching for the relevant email. So if I go to the client name here, or to be honest, what I would do is probably add a field that's client email, but I put text operators equal to, and then you can see here, email, just like that. So now whenever a call gets booked, it's going to go ahead and search for that specific client within the email. Ideally, I would do this in a project management system rather than the testimonial tracker, but whatever, for now, just to make this example simple, we'll leave it as this. And then we'll just add a module that within Slack, you go ahead and actually create a message. And here you can send a message to the relevant CSM, which once again, you can track in the sheet, but ideally you'll do this in a project management system. That's something along the lines of, hey, first call booked. Something along those lines, guys. once again, fairly simple. The only thing that you need to be very careful is you don't want to trigger this every single time a meeting gets booked. You don't want to do this for the first meeting. So what we'll do here is I'd add a filter, and for one of the specific reviews, I'll go ahead and check the actual link is empty or does not exist. So now I know that this automation will only run through for their first call or their call where we haven't yet collected testimonial from them, and it's going to send a message to the relevant CSM. Once again, guys, fairly silly example and fairly simple. The whole purpose of this is not to have a whole kind of automation masterclass. I've got plenty of videos going over that. I just want to mainly give you different ideas of how you can use these automations. So basically, you want to repeat that process for the different wins that you're actually getting for your clients at different points in the fulfillment process. So for example, the one I just showed you was them getting their first call booked, but you can know a bunch of different things, them getting an ROI in their marketing ad spend, them getting their first leads, them getting their first 10K months, different things like that. And don't go too crazy on this. You don't necessarily have to automate every single aspect of this. For example, for my clients, I don't automate too much of it, especially because we do a lot of custom done for you stuff. So it's kind of hard to keep track of everything that happens. I mainly just go by eye, or whenever I know I've built a really, really cool system that my clients are going to love and it's going to have a massive impact, that's when I go ahead and strike. So don't worry too much about automating those specific things. If you can get some easy wins, like for example, in your onboarding process or any sort of reporting that's already set up, then go ahead, be my guest, do it, because it's a great opportunity to make sure your CSMs don't forget. However, don't go too crazy with this. The third automation, which I want to show you, which is probably the most important automation I'm going to show you today, apart from the first one, is very, very important. And this is a way that you can keep a track of testimonials in the future. So all we're doing here is basically once a month, we're going to check that testimonial database. And if anyone doesn't have any sort of reviews, we're going to send a message to the actual CSM. So within my mate.com account, I'm just going ahead and create a new automation. And the trigger for this is going to be Google Sheets. I'm going to scroll all the way down to search Google Sheets. So once again, this is a fairly similar process that we've shown you 3 different times today, to be honest. You want to find the specific template, which in this case is testimonial tracker. I'm going to go ahead and press OK. It's going to go ahead and find it for me. I'm going to choose the first sheet. And to be honest here, I don't even necessarily need to add any filters because I'm going to be filtering it after. But just to show you guys how this works. Now, every time I run this, is going to output every single client, which is basically a row. So in this case, I've got no client, project ID, start date, and whether or not collecting different testimonials. Now we're going to add another module. And in this case, we're going to be sending a Slack message, or let's say we're going to find the actual project. I'm going to take this a step further for you guys. Why not? So I'm going to go with my project management tool, which is built on the local. And I'll show you guys what that looks like. Very simple. We have this custom project management tool. I actually built this live in a video if you want to check it out. But within different projects, it's assigned to particular clients. We have different employees assigned to that particular project. But once again, within mate.com, I'm going for the local. I'm searching a particular record. And for this, I'm going to be searching my project table. And once again, don't get too focused on specific tools. You can do this with mainly every project management system. In this case, I'm searching for the ID, which we can find right here. And if I go ahead now, and once again, I don't want to trigger this for every single person, so I'm going to enter a filter that the video testimonial collected is equal to false. The written testimonial collected, or the UGC testimonial collected, is also equal to false. And the written testimonial collected is also equal to false. All right, so now we just set up a filter. And if you go back to a testimonial tracker sheet for a second, you should see there's only 1 or 2 different records which actually have this information, which is the Lighthouse Ads and Marketing Inc. So now if I go back over here and I actually run this, you should see it should only find 2 different projects, not all the different ones. So in this case, we only have 1. We can have a look to see how it comes. So we have this one and then bundle 11, which is, we can have a quick look at this. Marketing Inc. False, false, true. Okay. So looks like Marketing Inc. has this one tick, so fair enough, that makes sense. But for example, if we were to run this again, now we should get 2. So we have 2 projects, and it's going ahead, you see, we have all the information. Now the important thing to care about is assigned employee collection, because this is actually who we're going to be sending different messages to. So just like that, now I'm going to go over here. I'm going to enter a module within Slack to actually find a relevant user, because I want to find the employee so I can actually send them a DM. I could also do this on a client channel, for example, which to be honest, I think these guys actually do have a Slack ID here. This guy doesn't, but maybe this guy will. This guy does as well. So I could just send it directly to the client channel, but let's say I want to send it directly as a DM. I can just go over here. I can scroll all the way down until I see users. I can find a user or get a user. Say we're going to search for a user. And then all I have to do is enter the employee email, which I can find over here in the actual individual edges, just like that. But once again, the reason I'm able to do this is because within the project management system, employees are assigned to different projects. And once I've actually found that user, I just want to send them a friendly little DM. So I'm going to go to Slack. I'm going to create a message. And then for this type of message, it's not going to be a public message in a channel. It's going to be a direct message. And then for the user, all I have to do is map that and enter the user ID from the previous search. And then for the text, I can be like, we haven't collected any testimonials from XYZ. And here I can enter the company name, which we can once again get from the Google Sheet. And that's pretty much it. Obviously, you can spice this up a bit, but now this automation will run. And when it runs, it's going to find all the different reviews within our testimonial database that don't have any sort of reviews, find a specific project, look for the relevant CSM or customer success manager, or even the relevant employees who are actually assigned to it, and then send him a message. Now, one additional step I would add here, to be honest, I don't want to send a message to every single employee assigned that project, only customer success manager. So for this, I'm going to go over to assign employee collection, open this up, and then for the actual role, I only want to trigger this for CSMs, customer success managers. So now we're only triggering this for the relevant customer success managers because I don't want to send a message to every single employee. The only thing I need to add there is when you actually want to start this. So for this, I'm going to open this up, move this out of here so you guys can see this. And I want to trigger this at the end of the month. So I'm going to go days of month, or let's say start of the month in this case, just to make it simpler. First of the month, save. And now this automation on the first of every single month is going to trigger. It's going to script the Google Sheet. It's going to see which of our clients who don't actually have reviews from, find a relevant project within a project management system, and then send a message to the relevant CSM attached to the actual projects so we can get update on when we're actually going to collect a testimonial from them. This is nothing complicated, guys. Once again, this is literally the most basic you ever get at this kind of system. But I hope this gives you a much better idea of how you can automate different things like this within your agency, whether it comes to testimonials or even the whole process around collecting those testimonials or tracking those testimonials. I've given you 3 different automation examples of how you can actually do this. Guys, I hope this video has been valuable for you. If you have any questions about anything I talked about today, please drop down below and leave a comment. We're a very small channel, so the chances of us giving you in-depth reply are very, very high. The most important thing I want you to take apart from this video, even regardless of the automation stuff, that's a bit more higher level, but I want you to really focus on first mapping out your client journey and identifying those wins. If you don't have those wins, you need to add them in because it's an easy way to just increase the trust that a client actually has on you and start seeing progress towards the goal. But once you've actually identified those wins, pounce at those opportunities as soon as they happen and tell your team the same thing. As soon as they notice some sort of support from the client where they begin getting happy with your service delivery, you want them to actually grab onto that opportunity and collect some sort of testimonials from them. Now, once again, you don't want to harass your clients from this. It's not like every single time you make your clients happy, you need to get something in return from them, because don't forget, they are paying you money at the end of the day. However, it's a great opportunity to collect these different reviews that you can use in your marketing, content, wherever it is, to improve those different conversion rates and bring you in more clients or even potentially referrals from people that know that client. That's the biggest thing I want you to take away. Once again, the automation side of things is cool and it is helpful if you're dealing with a lot of different customers. But if you're very small and you just want to begin testing this out, as I recommend you should, then first map out your client journey, identify those wins and add those opportunities, collect those different testimonials from your clients, because in the long term, it's really going to pay off, guys. I mean, you see these agencies like Skilling with Systems, which have a ton of testimonials. I mean, they just have a whole YouTube channel going over each individual testimonial. And I'm sure on the website, you have even more stuff. And the sooner you start collecting testimonials, the bigger the bank will actually be. And let's say in the future, you have a specific lead that comes in and they have a specific pain point, and you have a testimonial from someone that you've helped with that exact specific pain point in the exact same situation, the chances you convert them are going to be much, much higher, guys. I hope this video is valuable. Apologies for a little rant to the end. This is a very important point, and to be honest, this is something that I realized recently, so I really wanted to share this with you guys and really emphasize the importance of testimonials, because we deal with a lot of different agencies, and most of these agencies that we actually deal with don't have any sort of testimonial process, which is one of the easiest things you can do to increase your credibility. Go back to Alex Mosey as well. If you read this book right here, $100 million offers, one of the things that he talks about is the value formula. And one of the things that's actually in the value formula, which is the perceived value that your client actually has, your particular service, product, whatever it is the perceived likelihood of achievement. And using testimonials is an easy way to increase that perceived likelihood of achievement. All right, guys, enough rambling from me. Leave a like below if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like this on your feed. We release videos like this literally every single week. Apart from that, guys, that's it from me today. One thing I will say, we have a ton of different resources in our school community. Check that out using the first thing in the description. And don't stop learning here. I want to show you a bit more examples of how you can use automation within your agency. So check out this video right here, going over 24 different examples of make.com automations that you can use in your agency. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.